Have you ever walked away from a conversation and replayed every word you said, not because something went wrong, but because you couldn't tell whether the other person genuinely liked you or was simply being polite? Sometimes the harder you try to leave a good impression, the more invisible you feel. The strange part is that the people who seem naturally likable aren't always the funniest, smartest, or most confident. Their minds are doing something different, and once you understand what that is, you'll never look at human connection the same way. You probably think people judge you by your personality, but in reality, they experience how they feel around you. That difference changes everything. Imagine meeting someone new. While you're wondering whether you're saying the right thing, your brain quietly starts monitoring yourself instead of the conversation. Every pause feels longer, every silence feels personal, and every expression becomes evidence. Psychologists call this self-focused attention. The more your attention turns inward, the less emotional information you notice outside yourself. You stop responding naturally and begin performing. Ironically, the harder you try to be liked, the harder you become to truly know. But this isn't a character flaw, it's an adaptation. Your brain was never designed to maximize popularity, it was designed to minimize rejection. Thousands of years ago, being excluded from your group could threaten survival, so your nervous system became incredibly skilled at scanning for signs of social danger. That same system still reacts today to awkward conversations, delayed replies, and uncertain facial expressions. Your mind isn't sabotaging you, it's protecting you with an ancient survival strategy that no longer fits modern life. The goal isn't to silence that system but to gently teach it that connection grows through safety, not perfection. Think of your brain as a spotlight. Wherever it shines becomes your reality. If the spotlight stays on yourself, you notice mistakes. If it turns toward the other person, you notice opportunities to connect. Another way to imagine it is as two mirrors facing each other. One reflects your thoughts, the other reflects another person's emotions. The longer you stare into your own mirror, the less clearly you see theirs. Behavioral psychology shows that people naturally feel closer to those who make them feel understood. First, replace impressive questions with curious ones. Instead of planning your next sentence, ask one thoughtful follow-up. This shifts your brain from self-monitoring into exploration, reducing anxiety while making the other person feel seen. For example, if someone mentions photography, ask what first inspired them to pick up a camera. Second, let small imperfections stay. A brief pause, a forgotten word, or a quiet laugh doesn't ruin connection. In fact, psychology describes something called the pratfall effect, where small, human imperfections can actually increase warmth when people already see you as genuine. Third, reflect emotions before opinions. If someone tells you they had a difficult week, don't rush into solving the problem. Simply acknowledge how exhausting that must have felt. Emotional validation helps calm the brain's threat response and builds trust. Fourth, match the pace instead of copying the personality. You don't need to become louder or quieter than you are. Simply notice whether the conversation feels calm or energetic. Behavioral synchrony helps two nervous systems feel naturally aligned without pretending to be someone else. Imagine walking beside someone instead of pulling them forward. Finally, remember one meaningful detail. Maybe it's their favorite book, an upcoming interview, or something they told you about their family. When you bring it up later, their brain recognizes consistency and care, strengthening relational memory. None of these are manipulation techniques. They work because they reduce uncertainty, and the human brain is constantly searching for social safety. Here's the one idea worth remembering. People rarely remember every sentence you said, but they almost always remember the emotional climate your attention created. When your attention becomes a place where others feel understood, liking becomes less about performance and more about presence. Presence isn't loud, it isn't perfect, it's simply attention without fear. So the next time you wonder whether someone likes you, ask a different question. Did they feel understood while they were with you? Because connection rarely begins when you finally become interesting. It begins the quiet moment another person feels safe enough to be themselves around you. And perhaps that's what people are truly searching for, not someone extraordinary, but someone whose attention feels like home.